around during the break. With beating Mahomes, first of all, beating Mahomes would elevate the Super Bowl. There's no doubt about it. But with beating Mahomes, is it equivalent to the Warriors beating LeBron James in 2015? Because of the greatness and the stature of these two athletes. LeBron James, considered one of the best players ever in NBA history. Patrick Mahomes already considered the greatest quarterback in NFL history.
Part of why I feel like the Warrior run gets elevated is because it happened in the heart of the LeBron era. For me. Now, I know there's others that are going to disagree, but part of why their championships are so sweet is because it denied him opportunities to have 6, 7, 8 championships, right?
Yep.
Like if the Warriors don't exist, how many does he have? 7?
May have 7.
Even if we're being conservative.
Yeah, no, he has 7.
Okay.
And then he's like, wow.
Right?
Jordan only has 6.
Right? And so, yes, if you take away championships from Mahomes, they absolutely get elevated. Sam Lubman brings up Eli Manning, right? Automatically. Eli's championships over Tom Brady are not the same as, let's just pick somebody out, had Eli beaten Joe Flacco.
Right. Yep. Eli beats Joe Flacco. What if he beats Big Ben? Do you get elevated there?
Well, I think Big Ben kind of gets lost in the shuffle of all the great quarterbacks of the last 20 years.
Yep.
I mean, if there's no Tom Brady, I think we elevate Big Ben Roethlisberger.
That's a guy who may have 4 Super Bowls, as opposed to 2.
Drew Brees' 1 championship is elevated because it happened against Peyton. To me. I don't know how many other people do that. Like, I look at John Elway's championship. Why does John Elway's, he has 2, but why does one of them get elevated?
Brett Favre.
He beat Brett Favre.
Mike Holmgren.
During the middle of Favre's 3 MVP runs.
And that Packers team looked unstoppable.
I don't know if history remembers it the way I remember it, but that's the way I do the math.
Yeah, no, that's...
So, like, when the Giants won their championship, oh, yeah, they beat the Rangers. No, they ended the Philadelphia Phillies.
Right. Does Russell Wilson get elevated because the Seahawks beat Peyton Manning? Although that defense really stuffed out the Broncos. I look at that game as like the Broncos offense pooped to bed.
I'm sure that, if I'm a Seattle sports fan, you're elevating that to the fullest.
Okay.
So yeah, you're gonna bake that in.
David Hernandez said a Super Bowl win is a Super Bowl win. I do agree with that.
But
some just in the public eye may look more impressive.
The Marino Montana one hits harder today than it did in 85. Would you agree?
No, Marino was no. I think that was a huge one in 85. I actually disagree with that.
Well, see,
Marino was on all the commercials, and everybody was talking about Marino. And if you watched the Montana doc or read the book about Montana in that Super Bowl, he was a little ticked because they kept talking about Marino.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is no one knew they were watching Joe Montana as the greatest quarterback of that era, and I think now, as history has revised it, Joe gets massively elevated because he stopped Marino from his one opportunity.
Joe was still getting a lot of love, though, in that time. Commercials, left and right. He stole the show against Marino. Like, I think Joe was elevated. Now, if you go to, say, Niners and Chargers, everybody feels like the Super Bowl was played 2 weeks prior to that.
Oh, that I agree with.
With the Dallas Cowboys, because all of a sudden you go into the Super Bowl and you're playing Stan Humphries. You know what I'm saying?
It's not the same.
It's not the same. Not even close to being the same. So you beat Mahomes, it would feel like, wow, we just beat LeBron James. Like, think about where Mahomes was in 2019 to where he is now.
Well, he was a phenom in 2019. Now, I mean, I've said it. Other people have said it. I don't know where you stand on this. I feel like I'm watching the highest level of quarterback play of all time.
Remember the Monday night game? I think it was during the pandemic. They played Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
And he had that first half. I think he threw like 4 touchdown passes. Yeah, pandemic season, I believe, 2020. And I thought to myself, we may be watching the greatest quarterback of all time. That was then. Fast forward 4 years later.
Would you have thought that if he didn't have a Super Bowl championship already in his
I would have
pocket?
thought he was a really good quarterback in the category. Like, I still believe Jim Kelly is a great quarterback.
I do too.
But he doesn't have the jewelry. And that's why not beating the Chiefs in 2019, how does it look now for Mahomes? I think the conversation is completely different. Because Mahomes goes back-to-back Super Bowls, he gets smacked by Tampa Bay. What does that do to Kansas City? Do they make any moves? They may draft differently if they don't win that Super Bowl against 2019. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. I mean, look at how the Niners have played out since not winning that Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yep.
I mean, things change dramatically. So losing does affect things. You know, I don't know. Do the Warriors land Kevin Durant if they beat LeBron James
Probably
the year
not.
they win 73? I don't know. I legitimately don't know. I've heard that from a lot of people. Like, I don't know.
Probably not.
I feel like Durant's a good example of somebody like his championships, even though they're against LeBron, get devalued.
Because he joined the Warriors.
Yeah, and that's not fair.
No, it's
stupid, actually.
It's awful. It's really awful how we.
But all championships are not created equal. That's something that I like. Yes, a championship is a championship, but on the tier of titles, some hit harder than others.
So Magic, this is a great example. 415 Comcast Business Text Line. Bird and Magic elevated their status because they beat each other.
Exactly.
Think about that, because Magic had won 2 championships before he faced the Celtics in the NBA Finals. They had beat the Philadelphia 76ers in 1980 and 82, but the Lakers like, we have to beat the Celtics. Then they lost in 84 to the Celtics in 7 games, and that really left Magic in a dark place. He had to beat Bird in one of those finals to really catapult himself into greatness, right? Mm-hmm. He was already a very, very good player, but to be great in the minds and be an all-time point guard, he had to beat Bird. Bird had to beat Magic because the first championship he had was against the Houston Rockets that he won. And they were just like, it's not the Lakers. It's the Rockets. We don't, it doesn't mean as much. That 84 championship means so much to that Boston community as opposed to 81 and 86 for Larry Bird. So to this conversation, to add clarity to this conversation, yes, if you beat certain individuals.
I totally agree.
You get put in a higher standard. You get put on a bigger platform.
Like Jordan's championships, right? We were talking about this at the break. I believe that first championship against the Lakers completely elevated. Now, he already had an unbelievable status. But when you beat Magic Johnson and the Lakers, and you have the iconic play of changing from the right to the left in traffic, and then Gatorade is just going balls to the wall with that as their endorsement, I do believe that completely elevated his profile, which was already through the roof. But beating Magic is a huge part of the elevation of the Jordan brand.
I'm with you.
So, no, I think that if the Niners beat Mahomes, if Purdy beats Mahomes, if Shanahan beats Mahomes, it does hit different for these guys.
It hits big time. No doubt.
Let's say if it's DeMeco Ryans. I'm just saying, like, hypothetically, it's the Houston Texans. Come on, y'all. It doesn't hit the same way as beating Andy Reid and the Chiefs. Now, I'll take it. I am not complaining, like beating the Cincinnati Bengals twice for Joe Montana. No one's complaining, but it's not the same.